Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. So it turns out that 7 days after General Conference, this is what the skies look like over Jerusalem, which isn't really surprising because last year what happened is he had General Conference, and then 7 days later, on October 7th, there was that attack on Israel by Hamas, and this war erupted. And then 7 days after that was the eclipse that went over Utah. Well, here we are. We just had General Conference. We also just had an eclipse, and this is going on in Israel. Now, today is 7 days from the eclipse, so I don't know if anything will happen today. As of right now, at the time that I'm recording this, Israel is weighing their response to Iran's attack. The attack was not successful in terms of damage or casualties or anything like that. From what I've seen, there's like one Muslim girl that was injured from it. So it's not like it was a devastating attack, but it's the first time that Iran has attacked Israel. And we don't know what's going to happen now. But last I checked, Israel will be responding, and we'll see what happens after that. Is it going to be major? Is it going to take this war to the next phase? I don't know. Well, this kind of already is the next phase, just Iran directly attacking Israel. But anyway, I wanted to... when I first saw this video, I just thought it was astounding. This looks like what you would like, what a lot of people picture, I think, when they think about the final war in the siege on Jerusalem just before the second coming. I think that we should take notice. It reminded me of many, many, many other events that have taken place in recent years, on and around the Temple Mount, or having to do with the Temple Mount. And so what I did is I created a new spreadsheet. It's called Timeline Temple Mount. And we're going to just briefly go through and show you everything that's been going on. And everything that I have is from President Nelson's time as president of the church. There's probably been more. My entire channel and all these spreadsheets are an ongoing project. So if you have anything that I don't mention in this video, please feel free to send it to me, and then I'll add it to this spreadsheet. But, before we launch into all these things that have been happening on and around the Temple Mount, I just want to remind you that just a few years ago, we had, of all people, President Holland and Elder Cook, who went to Israel. They rededicated the Orson Hyde Memorial Garden. And while there, they met with very notable leaders in Israel, notably Benjamin Netanyahu, who is currently the prime minister in Israel as this war is going on. Right? They met with the mayor of Jerusalem and then other Israelis. And this makes me think of the prophecy of the two witnesses. And the way that I view it, the way that I think that it plays out, like I've said before, is that it's simply every prophet and apostle that has gone to Israel, because a lot of times when they do, they interact with Israelis and Jews. And they don't just go there and just like shake hands. I did a video a while ago where we went over the transcript of what Jeffrey R. Holland taught in the BYU Jerusalem Center to some of these dignitaries, these Jews. And it was essentially like a missionary lesson. And they talked about the fact that, or he talked about the fact that Elijah has returned. And I was kind of shocked by how explicit his, this talk was. But they have talked to them and they have taught them. It's been going on in a tactful way ever since we've sent apostles and prophets to Israel, right? So, but we should not ignore this, especially after this last General Conference, with it starting out with President Jeffrey R. Holland talking about his near-death experience and how he's come back with an urgent message and how we all need to be recognized by the Lord when he comes. It was a second coming message. It was a 5 wise virgins message, right? And Jeffrey R. Holland, he's the one that was the president of BYU and was instrumental in getting the BYU Jerusalem Center constructed. And he said that there were many miracles that went along with that, and that we haven't yet seen what the Lord has in mind for the BYU Jerusalem Center. There's an article that says that. Just look up Jeffrey R. Holland 33 Miracles of the BYU Jerusalem Center or something like that. It's not done. And I think it's a temple. I think it's not an ordinance temple. I think it's like an administrative temple. And that's what it's going to become when Christ comes. That's what I think. And I think that what we're seeing right here are the two witnesses. And it's not just strictly two people. It's all of them. Look at what it says here. While visiting the Holy Land, Elder Holland and Elder Cook recall their days as missionary companions because they had both served in the United Kingdom, and at one time they were mission companions when they were young. And here they are seemingly performing another mission and giving a talk like this to Jews, teaching them about our beliefs, and meeting with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Seriously. So President Holland, when he says that he may only have weeks or months left, I'm going to pay attention to that. Okay, stop typing. I know all the scriptures have to do with the two witnesses, and you have one idea how you think it's going to play out, and that's fine. I think that things play out in a very natural way and that we don't always have all the information and the details like it's a movie and we're privy to all the things. So if President Holland passes away and then 3 days later he's resurrected, you might be like, well, but he wasn't killed by the enemies of the church or whatever. You don't know. We're not privy to every single thing that happens. This is not a movie where you see what the bad guy's doing and simultaneously what the good guy's doing. So just be open and flexible, and let's just watch and see what happens with him, potentially President Eyring and others. Okay. And let's see, there was one other thing. Let's not forget that when President Nelson started his presidency, the first place he wanted to go was Jerusalem. And guess who he took with him? It was President Holland. And here they are. Here's President Nelson. Here's President Holland. There's the Dome of the Rock and the Temple Mount behind them. So let's have eyes to see and ears to hear what's going on and not assume how things are supposed to happen. Just wait and see. Okay, so moving on, let's just quickly go through all these crazy things that have been happening at the Temple Mount during President Nelson's presidency. This is in chronological order. The first one that I have, this is actually from 2018. This is like a 2-year follow-up article, but it talks about a time when a stone fell from the Kotel, or the Western Wall, the day after Tisha B'Av. On the Hebrew calendar, that's the day that they believe that the first and second temples were destroyed. They also believe things like that tradition holds that that's like when the Spanish Inquisition started and other tragedies in Jewish history. So it's their belief that Tisha B'Av will one day become like the happiest day because they associate it with the building of the third temple. So when you have the retaining wall of the Temple Mount and there's a stone that falls, reminding you of the destruction of the first and second temples, a stone that falls on that day, a lot of, people take that as a sign. Again, this was during President Nelson's first year as president of the church. So there's an additional layer to think about. There's an article by Israel 365 News that explains it more, like the more like religious interpretation, like how the Jews would view this. And here's video of it. So here's the woman right here. She's praying. Now this is the part of the Western Wall that's for, I guess, like Reform Jews and conservative Jews, those that are not Orthodox, where men and women can be here together, because up at the other part that you're used to seeing, it's separated men and women. But I think Reform and conservative Jews don't really care about that, and so they have this section right here. So, yeah, she was just there praying, and then boom, there it is. Lucky, like she was over there to the right and not closer, but this happened on Tisha B'Av, so that's strange. Should take note. Here's this one, Israel 365, also in 2018. This is the date of this article is September 30th. If you go to my spreadsheet, though, The date that I put here is the actual day that these events occurred. Okay, so if you want more detail, go there. But okay, so strange mist covers Temple Mount. And not just that, on the 6th day of Sukkot, which is the Feast of Tabernacles. What's interesting about this was in 2018. Guess what happened 5 years later during the Feast of Tabernacles? The war in Israel broke out on the 8th day, on the Simchat Torah, which is like the day after the 7 days of the Feast of Tabernacles. But the same holiday, 5 years before this happened, a strange mist appeared on the Temple Mount, and there's video of it. This is Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz's, I guess he has 2 channels, it looks like. He's the one that I interviewed recently about the red heifers. He's in contact with the Temple Institute and the people that are actually going to be doing the ceremony. So we got some good information about that a couple weeks ago. So make sure to watch that interview. But yeah, here they are. Here's the Temple Mount, and you have all these Jewish men. Well, it looks like there's women in the background, but doing their thing on the 6th day of the Feast of Tabernacles. And you have this weird mist that shows up. You know, it's strange. They don't know what it was. You know, there were like theories and stuff, but whatever. This happened. Okay, the next one. Israel 365 News, watch snake in the temple. This would be more of a sign to the Jews, or according to their understanding. Again, I think that whenever things happen according to a Jewish understanding, it's still significant. The way that he was talking about it in this article is like they viewed this as a harbinger or a foreshadowing of Messiah, that you had this snake come out of the cracks of the wall of the Western Wall. And it was in the women's section. You know, that makes you think of Adam and Eve and Satan, you know. But you have a snake that came out of the wall. There's video of it. There's a couple videos of it. What's interesting is that this YouTube video, it shows the snake appearing right next to a dove. So you have a dove, you have a snake. It's the women's section of the Kotel. And can't remember if I don't think it was on a special date, but you know, it made news. And here, you know, they got some guys to come over, some men to come over and come get the snake. But it was just a strange happening. Okay, the next one, now we're moving forward to 2021. And 2021 was an interesting year because you'll remember that was the year that the church started talking to Community of Christ about purchasing the Kirtland Temple. I think 2021 was a special year for that reason alone. But there were also a lot of weird things going on in Jerusalem, in and around the Temple Mount that year. So this made big news. Footage shows blaze on Temple Mount during Jerusalem Day celebrations. So at the time, I don't think everyone down here knew what was going on. Maybe some of them were hoping, oh, you know, the Dome of the Rock is on fire. This is an act of God. We're going to build the third temple. But whatever they were thinking down here, they were happy. You can see them dancing and celebrating. It turned out that there were Palestinians up here that were kind of like doing a counter thing. They had fireworks, and then a firework like caught a tree on fire. But it doesn't matter that that's what happened. What matters is the reaction and the viewers. And if this put thoughts into your mind that this is a sign, you know, that things are happening with the Temple Mount, that's what's important. So that's why I take it as a sign. This is a very dramatic looking video. I mean, where do you ever see anything that looks like this? The Western Wall, a big fire on top. Maybe it is a foreshadowing. We don't know. It's not spelled out exactly how things are going to happen with the temple in Jerusalem. But, you know, I've done a video about the Dome of the Rock and how that could be turned into a temple. And you might say, no, it's supposed to be... Just watch my video, okay? Be open-minded. The Dome of the Rock is actually patterned after Christian churches in the area. And there's a lot of interesting details about the Dome of the Rock. And we have right now in modern times temples that have been converted from other buildings. So it's not like you can't take a building and then convert it into a temple. I don't know why people don't understand that. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen with the Dome of the Rock, but it could. But whatever the case, let's just get back to it. So here you had this dramatic event on Jerusalem Day. Jews dancing while fire rages on Temple Mount, lights up social media. Yeah, this story went far and wide. Okay. Next, vines growing on the retaining wall of the Temple Mount, spelling out God's name, Jehovah. Jehovah. In our church, Jehovah is the pre-mortal name of Jesus Christ. And in the Old Testament, whenever you see Lord and it's all uppercase letters, that's the original. In the original Hebrew, it's Jehovah. But I guess to avoid the repetition, we changed it to the Lord. In Judaism, they call it the name or Hashem, because they're not allowed to say Jehovah in like Yahweh. That's the Hebrew, Yahweh. They're not allowed to say that in Judaism. But what happened in 2021 is you had these vines that started growing on the eastern retaining wall that spell out his name minus one of the letters. And it's not just from this article. I never like to go to just one source, even if it is Israel 365. I like to see if there's other sources, if possible. And there were people that went there. You're probably familiar with this account, Hananiah Naphtali, and then also there's Temple Mount Report, but this is Yair, or what is his name? Yair Levy, I think is his name. It's been a long time. But they went there and they verified it. It is actually there. And you can see you have the Yod, He, Vav, and then the last letter would be He, and that would be Yahweh. So that showed up. And let me show you where that's at. Let's go to BYU's virtual New Testament. Okay, so if the temple was standing today, like if the second temple was still there, this is what it would look like. And the name of Jehovah in vines is growing like right around this area right here. So facing the Mount of Olives. So let's look at it from this point of view. There's the temple. The temple faces the Mount of Olives. Okay. And the name of Jehovah in vines is growing like right here facing that way. And you know what that makes me think of? And I've shared this before. It makes me think of our modern temples. For one, they have, holiness to the Lord on them. And again, Lord, if you substitute that for Jehovah, you have that on the temples. But then you also have the temple signs that have like the name of the temple. In this case, this is the Madrid temple. This was for my mission. At the time I went on my mission, there was just the Madrid temple. But since that time, a temple has been announced for Barcelona, which was my mission, the Barcelona mission. It's not yet constructed, but I'm excited. There's a rendering for it. But you can see here, here you have a temple and you have the walls around the temple and you have Temple de Madrid right there. And then it says the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So it has Christ's name on there. So that's what I think of, maybe the Lord is getting prepared to make this happen on the Temple Mount. Don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay. And then you have foxes that have shown up at the Temple Mount, which is a very, very rare thing because foxes avoid populated places. And, whenever it's happened, it's only happened three times that I know of. Each time that it's happened, it's made news. So the first time, dang it, this is out of order. This is August 9th, 2019. So President Nelson's second year as president of the church. Foxes appear on Temple Mount in time to fulfill verse in Lamentations read on 9th of Av. So basically what happened was in the 9-day austerity period of the 9th of Av, you had foxes that showed up at the Temple Mount. And this was important for some Jews who felt that it was a sign because they point to some scriptures that talk about foxes being seen where the temple once stood and how basically that would have to happen first before the third temple could happen. So if you want to read more or learn more, just read this article. I'll put the links for all these articles in the description box below. But a lot of them took this as a sign, and this isn't the only time that it happened. And remember, this happened during the period, not on the day, but during the period, the period leading up to Tisha B'Av. So they're getting ready to lament the first and second temples being destroyed, and then you have this sign that's like a sign that the third temple is going to be built. That's how they would interpret it. So that's why it's important that it happened during that time. Okay, next, there was when I was just very, very first starting my channel. I started my channel just a few days after this happened. So this was August of 2021. Or maybe I started a little bit before, I can't remember. But at the beginning of my channel, this happened. There's a wildfire in Israel, close to Jerusalem. And this is from 7 Israel National News. Metzuda Winery went up in flames on very day of grape harvest. You know, there's this whole idea of the harvest. I know that there's the theory out there about the different harvests, and we're in this harvest. I don't really subscribe to that idea. I mean, if that's right, then it's right. But I do think that any harvest imagery is interesting, because that's one of the main motifs of this last dispensation, that it's like the final harvest before the second coming. And so you have this fire that breaks out on the day of the harvest, the grape harvest in this case, and it produced scenes like this over the Temple Mount. Probably not a good sign, is it? This right here, probably not a good sign. This right here, probably not a good sign. And there's another one too. This one is like even more dramatic, but the resolution is worse, unfortunately. That is stunning. It's shocking. The sky is being darkened over Jerusalem. Again, this is an event where the sun was darkened. The sun was darkened. Can you see the sun through those smoke clouds? No. The sky was darkened over Jerusalem because of a fire on the day of the grape harvest. I mean, come on. Okay, next. Okay, the next sighting of foxes at the Temple Mount. This was January of 2023. So not on a special day, but it happened, and there's video. You can see the fox right here. I'm not going to play the video, but fox on over there on the Temple Mount, or on Mount Zion. And then, well, yeah, Mount Zion, that is okay, whatever. And then the last one that I have is this. Fox spotted along walls of Temple Mount. Sparks talk of prophecy. This time it's being picked up by the Jerusalem Post. And this time, it wasn't just during the period of Tisha B'Av, it was on Tisha B'Av. And there's the video right there. There's the fox. So it's like you have that first sighting during the period of Tisha B'Av. So, like, you know, it's a warning, but then it's an even clearer warning this time around, July of last year, because it was on the day of Tisha B'Av. So if you want to go back over this, you can access my spreadsheets in the description box below. The link for it is right there. But and this is the tab called Timeline Temple Mount. So just a quick review. The stone that fell the day after Tisha B'Av that missed the Jewish woman that was praying at the wall. That was July 2018. September, the sixth day of the Feast of Tabernacles, a group of Jews praying on the Temple Mount witnessed a strange mist rising up out of the ground of the Temple Mount. October, at the women's section of the Western Wall, or the Kotel, there was a snake that came out right next to a dove, and they see that as like a sign of Messiah. Skip forward to 2021. There was the fire on top of the Temple Mount on Jerusalem Day as the Jews danced. July 2021, the vines grew that spelled out the name of Jehovah. It's also interesting to note, the article talks about the fact that it even seems to match a certain type of calligraphy. It says The letters seem to be quote-unquote written in Katav Ashuri, the calligraphy style used in writing sacred texts. And then August 2021, the first fox seen at the Temple Mount during the 9-day period of austerity preceding Tisha B'Av. Just like a week later, that's when you had the fire on the very day of the grape harvest, and smoke fills the skies over the Temple Mount. And then in 2023, you have the next two sightings of foxes on the Temple Mount, and the last one was on Tisha B'Av. Now, again, I may have missed some. I may have covered other events, but I just didn't remember them. So help remind me if I missed something, or if there's something else that I haven't covered or is not on here, let me know. Yep. Okay. Well, that's going to be it for this one. Let's just keep watching what happens. I don't know if anything's going to happen today, 7 days after the eclipse, but I wouldn't be surprised. And that's going to be it. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.